All right, I will call the Tuesday, May 20th, 2025 regular council meeting to order and begin with a land acknowledgement that the City of Fort Saskatchewan is located on Treaty 6 territory and Métis Nation of Alberta, District 11. We recognize that we stand upon the land that carries the footsteps of many Indigenous peoples, including the Nihilwak, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, Nakota Sioux, and Métis. The city honors the First Peoples of this land and is committed to fostering reconciliation through relationship building, knowledge gathering, and education. And because we have some people in our audience that aren't part of the staff, in case the alarm should sound, we would have you exit through those doors, or if they were blocked, you would exit with us out the back doors and go to the muster point. I always say just follow the staff and we'll get you to somewhere safe. So with that, we will begin with the meeting. And the only item that we have on the regular portion of the meeting is a public hearing and business arising from the public hearing. So there would be no delegations. So we will get straight into the public hearing. So I'll invite administration to come forward and I'll just talk about the process as they come forward. So the process for a public hearing is they will do the presentation. Following that, council has an opportunity to ask them any questions. Once those questions are answered, then we would have them take their seats, and anybody wishes to come and speak in favor or opposed would have an opportunity to do so for 5 minutes, and of course have questions asked of them as well. Then following that, we would ask administration to come back. Any following questions? Close the public hearing and go into business arising from the public hearing. So that's the process, if anybody's wondering. So with that, I will open the public hearing at 2:02 p.m. And welcome, Scott.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of council. My name is Scott Purich, and I am here with Craig Thomas. We're here to present a brief summary of Bylaw C9-25 to adopt the proposed Roseburn Area Structure Plan. So to begin, in August 2023, City Administration received an area structure plan application that encompasses roughly 250 hectares of land located south of the South Fort Meadows neighborhood, east of Highway 21, west of 92nd Street. 92nd Street is included, and north of the city's southernmost boundary, or Township Road 542. The ASP area encompasses an entire section of land, or 4 quarters. I would like to note that while the ASP is for an entire section, the plan focuses on the northeast quarter section, highlighted in orange. This quarter section is owned by the ASP applicant, and the remaining quarter sections are designated as future plan area, which is highlighted in green. And those are owned by non-participating landowners. As these future plan areas are planned, there will need to be amendments to this ASP to reflect the planning for these areas. The ASP gives high-level direction to the future plan areas in accordance with the city's servicing design brief for the annexed areas. The northeast quarter section, or the planned area, includes agricultural lands with a homestead on it, a man-made dugout, some minor wetlands, which are non-crown claimable, and an existing tree stand with the homestead. Additionally, this area structure plan was given the name Roseburn after the Roseburn Farms, which was the farming operation when the land was purchased in the 1960s. So first, I want to start with an overview of the approval process and the next steps. So currently we are at the ASP stage. The ASP is developed as per the guidelines of the terms of reference for area structure plans and neighborhood structure plans and must align with the municipal development plan. An area structure plan typically includes information such as sequence of development, the land uses proposed for the area, the density of the population proposed for the area, the general location of major transportation routes and public utilities. Technical studies are also undertaken, which include transportation impact assessment, environmental and historical assessments, biophysical and geotechnical investigations, servicing design to ensure suitability of land for the development. An area structure plan is a statutory plan and must be approved by council by giving 3 readings, and a public hearing must be held. We are currently at the public hearing of the area structure plan and will be followed with second and third reading. Once the area structure plan is approved and adopted, the next step is to create a neighborhood structure plan, or NSP, which is also to be developed as per the terms of reference for area structure plans and neighborhood structure plans. The adoption of an NSP will not be permitted unless an ASP has been adopted for the area which the NSP is proposed. Council is the approving authority for NSPs, and an NSP is approved as an extension of the ASP. An NSP is typically a more detailed subplan within an ASP focusing on individual neighborhoods. This can include details such as local road networks, lanes, blocks, more accurate sizes, and configurations of parks and such. The area circled in black is the next step once and if council gives third reading to this bylaw for the ASP. So next, I want to discuss the concept plan included with the ASP. The purpose of this map is to provide a visual representation of the proposed land use patterns, including residential areas, commercial zones, parks, open spaces, and key infrastructure. The ASP envisions the Roseburn area as a predominantly residential neighborhood within the city. The ASP will accommodate approximately 11,200 residents with close to 4,500 dwelling units. Whereas the northeast quarter section will be home to approximately 3,100 residents with 1,250 dwelling units. A variety of housing options are proposed, including singles, semis, townhomes, apartments, and a new shallow lot, high-density housing form. So first, I would like to bring your attention to the new land use layout. As you may note, the largest land use is in the light yellow, which is the low density development. Next is the slightly darker yellow, which highlights the areas designated for street-oriented low density development. So this area will allow for slightly greater density and is largely located along major transportation routes. And next is the medium density development, which is highlighted in the salmon color. This use is located south of the proposed school site at the intersection of the collector roads and within the neighborhood node. We also have the high density shallow lot housing designated in orange. This area is designed to accommodate a unique housing form consisting of semi-detached homes with separate upper and lower units, each with their own entrance. We also have the regular high-density residential and neighborhood commercial development designated within the neighborhood node. A neighborhood node should include higher density housing choices and commercial opportunities, acting as a gathering place for the community. This can be seen as an area with hatching on the plan. Adjacent to the neighborhood node is the stormwater management pond, which will act to enrich the area and accommodate walking trails. Sorry, went one too many there. So next, focusing on the northeast quarter section, I want to bring your attention to the orientation of the roads. This quarter section is designed with one east-west collector road and two north-south collector roads, and is bounded by 3 arterial streets on the north, east, and south. The overall road network aligns with the MDP direction as it supports the creation of a modified grid. I would also note that the road network was developed around the city's servicing design brief for the annexed lands. Roundabouts are proposed to enhance traffic flow by reducing the need for stop-and-go driving, which is common at signalized intersections. This not only improves fuel efficiency and reduces vehicle emissions, but also shortens travel times within the neighborhood. By keeping traffic moving at a consistent pace, Roundabouts can handle higher volumes of traffic with fewer delays, making them ideal for busy residential areas. It is expected that the roundabouts throughout the ASP area will be single lane. I would also note that because this is the ASP, it does not show all the local roads. This will be further fleshed out in the NSP when it comes before council. So, next is the distribution of parks and open spaces. Parks of various sizes are distributed throughout the plan area, including a future school site, including along the north end of the plan area. The location of parks is consistent with the MDP, as green spaces are largely located along collector roads, and the location of small-scale parks are within 5-minute walking distance of residents. I would also note that the existing tree stand identified earlier is not being retained, as the technical reports noted the difficulty in maintaining the tree stand. Many of the trees would need to be replaced and would be unrealistic to retain due to the grading and servicing that would occur. The map shows multi-use trails along arterial and collector roads as well as through the parks and around the stormwater management area. These trails are designed to support safe and convenient active transportation for pedestrians, cyclists, and other users. The trails link residential areas, parks, school sites, and commercial areas, ensuring that all key destinations are easily accessible. I would also like to bring to your attention how the trails connect to the existing trail system located just north of the ASP area. So you can see some of the yellow or orange lines there connecting north into the South Fort Meadows area. Additionally, an enhanced pedestrian multi-use corridor is planned along 92nd Street. This corridor will be developed in stages as the project progresses from north to south. Overall, the active transportation network aims to create a well-connected, safe, and enjoyable environment for all residents, promoting healthy and sustainable modes of travel. So next, I would like to very briefly talk to the stormwater servicing. Council had some specific questions about servicing and site grading. This map helps to show the proposed servicing regarding stormwater for the ASP area. So sanitary servicing will include stormwater sloping west to east and an interim lift station to pump wastewater north to the existing infrastructure. The lift station will be decommissioned when more permanent services are constructed. The interim and ultimate system will connect with the city's existing system and ultimately into the regional network. The developer will be responsible for the cost of building the temporary lift station. Next, as mentioned before, Council had some questions regarding the grading and sloping of the ASP area. This map shows the general sloping currently present in the proposed ASP area. One of the major considerations of design is that water must be maintained and discharged throughout its natural basins. The second major consideration is that the discharge rate be maintained at pre-development flows to ensure minimal impact, such as erosion or flooding. For the areas of the city east of the highway, the natural drainage path is towards Ross Creek and ultimately to North Saskatchewan River. So stormwater is collected in ponds to provide storage in order to control the flow rate and ensure it stays at pre-development levels. The interim measure includes a temporary lift station that discharges into existing ditches running east, which eventually connects to Ross Creek. Next, I want to discuss the staging plan included with the ASP. The purpose of this map is to illustrate the recommended sequence of development within the Roseburn ASP area, ensuring orderly and efficient growth. The map shows the conceptual order of development stages starting from the northeast and extending south and west. This sequence is designed to maximize efficiency and minimize disturbance to existing uses. Stage 1 development begins in the northeast portion, including the road connection from the South Fort Boulevard at Greenfield Link and initial construction of the stormwater management facility. Stage 2 development continues west from Stage 1. This stage also includes the west entrance collector and dedication of the school site municipal reserve. Stage 3 development proceeds south, culminating in the connection of internal collector roads and development of the central mixed-use neighborhood node. This stage includes a wide range of housing options and completion of boundary arterial roads to the northeast quarter section. So administration supports this application for the following reasons. The ASP conforms with the MDP policies and objectives. The ASP is located in the area that is designated as part of future urban areas in the MDP. Neighborhoods in the future urban area are designed as a place that meets the diverse needs of its residents and offers a high quality of life. The ASP includes a variety of housing types, aligning with the MDP policy, which emphasizes diverse housing types to meet the needs of different ages, incomes, and household sizes. The ASP ensures that the parks and open spaces are distributed throughout the community, with all residents being within a 5-minute walk of a park, aligning with the MDP policies, which emphasizes the importance of accessibility and well-distributed parks and open spaces. The ASP encourages street-oriented development with active interfaces, aligning with the MDP policies. And finally, the ASP is designed to implement the MDP's vision for complete communities through detailed planning. This includes ensuring neighborhoods are designed to be walkable, safe, and welcoming. The ASP incorporates mixed-use development, higher density housing, and amenities within walking distances, aligning with the MDP's goals. So next, I'd like to very briefly go over the communication that occurred to advertise this public hearing. So first reading was given on April 22nd. The public hearing was advertised for 2 consecutive weeks in the record. Landowners and adjacent landowners were mailed notices, including properties within Strathcona County. And finally, notice of the public hearing was posted to the city's website and social media accounts. 2 letters of concern were received during this time. The first letter had concerns regarding how subdivision hurts the environment and increases fire risk. The second letter notes that the development will go against the City of Fort Saskatchewan's small city feel, and as a result, people will feel less safe. And at this time, I would like to answer any questions if council has any. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. I'm going to jump in and ask the first question. Do we typically, in an area structure plan, and I don't recall seeing this before, put street-oriented? I thought in an area structure plan it would just be low density as opposed to actually putting street-oriented.
I think just to jump to that one, it's a general direction that it's providing for that area. And then once we get to the NSP, it'll have more details, more policies of how that's achieved. But overall, this is just like a general naming of specifically the phasing. Like if I go back to, this one, yeah. You'll see like the darker yellow there is just named as street-oriented, low-density residential.
But I guess that's my point. If you've got it on there street-oriented, then, and we approve it, then is that not then a requirement that it has to be fronting onto the street? Or can that change?
Your Worship, to answer your question, it is more typical now in our area structure plans to use the term street-oriented. These policies do come from our municipal development plan. It does speak to, I guess, specifically street-oriented development, what that means and what it is. Also on collector roadways, there's policies that talk about housing fronting on as opposed to backing onto collector roadways. So in the Roseburn plan, there are situations where there's kind of a mix of both, but the color that denotes the street-oriented speaks to a particular type of built form.
Okay, so then that takes me to my next question. There's a nice little roundabout tucked in there, and you've got street-oriented. So I live in West Park where the one of the roundabouts is, and there's nothing facing that, and it was difficult enough to have a single family dwelling or any kind of dwelling pushed far enough back that there can be access. So I guess I have questions about why you would have street oriented and a roundabout in the same breath. Because how are you going to have people? I don't know if there's going to be front drive, back drive. People are going to want to park in front of their houses. So how can you have both of those? That doesn't make sense to me.
Your worship, it can be done. Those details would be forthcoming with the neighborhood structure plan. The developer is here as well, and he could probably add some insight to that as well.
Okay, and I guess just the last question: if all of a sudden the neighborhood one comes in and we take a look at it and say, yeah, it doesn't work, that's, can it be changed then? If whether it, and I'll ask the developer if it can or can't be done. I just know, living in West Park, if you had one fronting onto the roundabout, that would be a nightmare. So, okay. Councillor Nguyen?
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. Question about the development staging. Why would the city not require the subdivision of land to conform with the staging plan? So essentially, why doesn't, instead of a quarter section, why doesn't it encompass the entire stage one? And I understand that this ASP is developer driven, but doesn't that make more sense if stage one is further than the boundaries of the exact square of a quarter section? Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question.
Why would we not require the boundary of stage one to have been sold as a parcel and subdivided according to the development staging as set out in this ASP? So why are we selling a square instead of the outline that we're looking at in the map?
Through your worship to Councillor Nguyen, I'm not sure if I understand your question either. So I'm referring to map 12. It shows the quarter section and then it shows the 3 stages. Stage 1, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, exactly. So we have 3 stages in this ASP. Where the ASP is showing development for a quarter section that is not the same shape as stage 1 boundaries.
Through your worship. So stage 1, 2, and 3 all together will be the entire quarter section.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, okay. Okay, sorry. Yeah. I was offline there. Okay, appreciate that. Second question: the layout of the transportation map. I know in our land use bylaw we have a differentiation between trail and sidewalk as per the definition. It seems like this is planned for like a road integration of like cyclists and pedestrian corridors. Is that correct then?
Through your worship, yes. Along the collectors and arterials, there are planned to be multi-use trails along there.
And instead of what we see in, say, like around the Allard area or Sienna, where we're seeing a trail system that is throughout parks and stormwater management systems.
The ones along, through your worship there, the ones along the roads are standard trails as our engineering standards require. And then if I can jump over here, this just helps to highlight where those trails will connect to through the parks and through the stormwater areas. So you can see that the standard trails will connect with the stormwater, which will kind of circle the area, and it also brings everyone to the node area just to the left of the stormwater pond area. You'll also see that some of the trails go through the parks. They don't, they kind of look like they just dead end there, but they do connect into the local road system as well, which is shown in greater detail in the NSP. So it's not fully shown here, but it does connect into the local road system. So.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That looks like all the questions for you. So I will have you just take your seats for a second. So we do have Andrew Usnick registered, but I've kind of changed my process a little bit because he's indicated he's only going to answer questions apparently. So I will ask if there's anybody in the audience who wishes to come and speak in favor or opposed to the public hearing. This would be your opportunity to do so. Give a second call. If not, I'll invite Mr. Usnick up. And just for the formality, stating your name if you're in favor or opposed. And I'm not sure if you had any more of a presentation that you'd want it to do or just answer question. Oh, just push the button. There, now it's red.
Perfect. Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of council. My name is Andrew Usnick with Strata Roseburn LP. I had a very short presentation, but administration answered most of those questions stemming from first reading. So to be respectful of everyone's time, I do have illustrations if I need to speak to them, but I want to make myself available for any questions. Obviously, we are speaking in support of the bylaw.
Great, thank you. Pardon? Go ahead. Councillor Blissard?
Hi. I guess I just agree with the mayor about the traffic circles. So can you tell a little bit about the plans? Because right now, and I live in the West Park area too, there is one house that's right on the actually kitty corner on the traffic circles. And luckily the other ones aren't. So there's less of an issue with them people parking too close or, you know, trying to park in front of their houses, which happen to be almost leading in. Do you have any plans for those or how are they going to work?
Through your worship, yes, Councillor. So as administration said, the policy in the Fort's MDP, which was adopted recently by council, was to really focus on housing that was fronting onto these collector roads moving forward with new plans. We certainly had a good, robust discussion with administration through the process. You know, we agree that it makes sense in particular locations, but in other locations it did not. In this case, where you're pointing to the potential traffic circle there on the west part of the plan, the intent there would be housing facing the road with you know, private amenity space in the rear yard between the detached garage that's accessed from the lane and the house. Those roads have a different offset than local roads, which means that not only is the road width itself larger to accommodate for traffic and transportation, but the boulevard between the curb and the sidewalk and then the additional setback from private property back to the house is such that there is a safe distance between them. Certainly would agree with you though that, you know, when we're talking about any housing fronting onto a collector road, typically not the best place for children or anyone to play. That's the same whether it's front detached product or rear detached product. You know, if someone were to choose to purchase a home in this location, they would certainly be made aware of the fact that they would be directly adjacent to a busier road.
Okay. And is that your, I guess, tied in with that? Would you prefer, if it wasn't a council direction, to actually back onto them with the houses instead of front facing?
As a developer, I always prefer the flexibility to make choices based on the market and engineering standards. But the reality of the situation is in every municipality we work in, these regulations do exist. So we want to put forward a thoughtful plan that balances both the goals of council and administration, but also does, you know, produces a community that's safe and attractive to people who potentially are looking for new homes in the Fort.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Harris?
So, Mr. Usnick, so ultimately, going to the question of the roundabouts, it's easier to plan at this stage to put a roundabout in, and then your adjacent land uses, residential or otherwise, can be dealt with accordingly. Because I think the two instances in West Park where we put in roundabouts in this latest iteration was basically taking an all-directional intersection and basically modifying it, and so it had existing residential properties facing in those areas. So they're pinch points, I guess, is what they're getting. So in this context, doing it at this point in time ultimately allows you more flexibility in putting those uses adjacent to the transportation corridor?
Through your worship, absolutely, Councillor. I mean, I wish there was an area structure plan or neighborhood structure plan that never changed over the 20 years of developing. And so instances like that in West Park absolutely do happen. But if you have the benefit of direction, you want to be able to capture that at the front end of planning so that you're making sure that everything is designed intentionally to, mitigate some of those safety concerns. But in this case, yes, I mean, this is something, by having the roundabout there now instead of something that perhaps changes from an all directional to a roundabout in the future, we give ourselves some certainty on making sure that we plan around that infrastructure properly.
Yeah, okay, well, that's good. And I think that the other question I had was about the front facing. Like, ultimately, I was patently opposed to what happened to the change in West Park Drive in West Park. But it's turned out to be okay. But in that context, and the question that I have for you, what will you deal with in terms of that kind of development? Because what we insisted on is that there would only be front-facing lots onto West Park Drive with no parking on the other side of the street, because that was backing onto. Is that kind of the iteration that you would end up with there, or would there be residential properties facing straight out on both sides of the collector, major collector, or whatever you want to call it?
So for this specific plan, the majority of the street-oriented residential that's identified in the plan either faces public open space, flanking signage of the road, or open space. I don't believe it's 100%, but absolutely the intent is, to balance that off, because I think if you, double load both sides of the road in 100% of the cases, a lot of the concerns you've kind of vocalized there materialize.
Yeah, I think we end up with a situation like which we have in built-up areas of Fort Saskatchewan, where we have basically lowered speed limits because of problems with garages and driveways and all that kind of stuff. But we're going to get away from that with the new planning framework you're bringing forward.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it does help in terms of traffic calming, because having some driveways converging onto those busier roads can be trouble in terms of blind spots and just people making sure that they're aware of what's coming out of them on that road.
Yeah, and one last question, if I may, Your Worship.
Okay.
So relative to the trails in the past, so we have two types of trails. We have trails and pathways adjacent to major roads, which ultimately allow people to not interface with the traffic. And then we have trails within the neighborhoods. And two types, right?
Correct.
Basically connecting back and forth.
That's right.
Okay. And that's consistent with what we've been doing in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the Fort is actually probably one of the leaders in the region in terms of being able to provide that kind of pedestrian infrastructure across all communities, not just pockets.
And that in itself is a testimony to good future planning. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Nguyen.
Yeah, I just have one question, and then I'd be willing to move the motion.
We're in public hearing
sorry.
now.
Let's do that later then. Thanks for being here this afternoon, Mr. Yusnik. Given that Council is currently discussing plans for potentially a flagship fire hall in the core section west of the one that we're looking at right now, I'm kind of looking at your long-term vision for development as I believe Strata would have interest in this quarter section. So I don't want to put you in a difficult predicament at the moment, but would there be any concerns of yours specifically with the plans or potential location of a fire tower backing onto potentially a residential area, given that that could be a ways out? But I'd love to hear any comments that you have in regards to that subject.
Through your worship, it's a great question, Councillor. I observed the discussion that Council had last week. I don't have an actual visual on what that training tower would look like, and specifically, I know that the Emergency Services Department was able to speak to the fact that there wouldn't be constant smoke, coming out of such a facility. When it comes to our specific lands, I do think it is. If emergency services is accurate in the sense that you're not going to see smoke coming out of that facility, I don't think it is something that would dissuade, people from living in this specific community. I think perhaps the more realistic question or concern to have is the fire station as is proposed is directly beside what is proposed to be a dual school site that will also have recreational fields. So because that proposed school site is directly adjacent to where that training facility would be, I think the impacts on that, and I think the people's opinions on what it would have to the public would be stronger on that. Certainly, anytime you have I'll call it a light industrial use, like a training facility that is utilizing controlled burns, having it away from people probably makes a lot of sense. But I also understand the point that the city only has so much municipally owned land to be able to deploy some of these facilities. So as a residential developer, my opinion is probably not worth a lot, but I think council's having a thoughtful discussion about it that makes a lot of sense. But in terms of today's application on the area structure plan, I think being over 500 meters away from it proposed either way, I'm personally not concerned about the viability of our community based on it.
Extremely eloquent. I appreciate that answer, and certainly something that the council has to consider. And obviously, it would be a benefit to all residents, and maybe even entertainment for the children at schools, if you want to look at it in that optic. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to come back to the same question that I had before with the front facing and that traffic circle. Now, I'm going to be more bold. Did you as a developer ask for street front facing, or was that a request of planning because of the interpretation in the MDP?
Our initial concept did not contemplate the level of street oriented residential that you see in the plan today. But certainly we had a healthy back and forth with planning. And I think that's an important thing. Anytime that there's total alignment between the two of us, that probably means one of us isn't doing our job. So I would say in this case, we increased the amount of street oriented housing based on direction from planning. That being said, where the plan sits today, where we've ended up, is something that I'm extremely happy with and extremely proud of. There were changes we made through the process that we wouldn't have made unless administration pushed back on us. So is there such thing as a perfect plan? I would say no, but in this case, I think that we were able to find a good balance between working with planning and achieving more street-oriented housing than we had originally contemplated in our initial submission, but not having so much of it and not having it in locations where we feel it'd be problematic to, number one, the marketability of our community and the livability of our community. So, I'm sure, Mayor, that you're looking for a more pointed answer, but in the spirit of being at a public hearing, the politically correct answer is we had a healthy back and forth, and we're happy with the amount that is shown in this plan today.
Okay. I think that was pretty pointed, so great, thank you. Are there any other questions of Mr. Usnick? Okay, if not, thank you very much. Anybody else wishing? I'm going to do one more call, and if nobody else is coming up, then I will invite administration to come back again. Not seeing anybody. And we'll have any final questions. And I am going to come back to you on that same question again.
Did you ask? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm going to come back to you on that question again, because I understand the theory of or what you're thinking about with the MDP, but I guess my question really comes for that one area. Does that really make sense to have street orientated? Or should that just not be low density and then it can be decided when it's being built? I just have real concerns about that.
Your Worship, so the details are being worked out in the neighborhood structure plan. I just go back to the policy within our municipal development plan, and it is pretty clear about where street-oriented development is to be located.
And I can agree to disagree. Any other questions? Okay, not seeing any. Oh, Councillor Harris? Okay. Okay, then with that, I will close the public hearing at 2:39 and go into business arising from the public hearing. Go ahead, Scott.
All right, so with that, it is being recommended that council give a second reading to bylaw C9-25, and should that be approved, that council give third reading to bylaw C9-25. Thank you.
Councillor Harris.
When the time comes, I'd be prepared to put that motion on the table.
Okay, Councillor Noyan also said he would, so.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. Sorry,
Okay.
I didn't realize that.
Okay, so any final questions on, or no, we're into recommended motion. So go ahead, Councillor Harris, or Councillor Noyan, whoever wants to take it. Go ahead, Councillor Noyan.
Sure, I'll read it in. I'll move that council give second reading to bylaw C9-25 to adopt the Roseburn Area Structure Plan.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to speak to it?
Absolutely, yes. Using some of Councillor Harris's words previously, this is a watershed document. It's going to be developing one of the first sections or quarter sections of the east side of Highway 21 and in the annex lands. I believe that there has been an incredible amount of diligent work done both on the part of the developer and administration, and I am comfortable supporting this motion.
Okay, thank you. It's open for discussion and debate. I'm going to speak to it as well. I'll support it, but I'm going to go on record, really go strongly on record saying I'm not sure our area structure plan should have the street orientated in there. I think once it comes to the neighborhood plan, if that's where we're seeing it, then I would be comfortable with that. But to put it in the ASP to say it's definitively going to be street orientated, I have a real issue with that. And I know I hear the word, well, we tried to balance, tried to find some happy compromise in that. And while I understand the MDP, and I know I didn't fully support everything that came out in the NDP, this is one when I see a traffic circle, street front orientated, I'd say if it wouldn't delay anything, I wouldn't vote for it. I just honestly don't believe that's the right location for it. So, and I have to have my opinion heard on that one. Councillor Harris?
I would tend to agree with you. I think that relative to the question I asked earlier, we can probably at this stage come up with the geometry of these roundabouts that will make sense. But I think we need to send a message to both the developer and to our administration that we have concerns about that. And I would tend to agree with it. And quite frankly, I missed that we made the modification in the MDP that talked about this. And if I had been paying better attention, I would have probably spoken more vehemently about that at the time. And we wouldn't have been in a position where we were basically shoehorned into making that decision in the West Park situation, the West Park Drive area. I look at this and I'm not sure how the geometry is going to look in that one particular one. I'm looking at the 1.37 hectare multifamily site, or I believe it's multifamily, medium density, and adjacent to it. But I guess anything can be engineered. It's just a question of what the setbacks are likely to be. But I would agree with you. And so then the direction that I would suggest that council needs to give to administration is make sure that you come back with a good plan that is ultimately not compromised in any way, shape, or form in terms of the safety of people using it or the people who live adjacent to it, in terms of fettering their quality of life adjacent to a roundabout. The one in West Park that was built, the guy that is kitty corner to the 7-Eleven, I've talked to him a few times, and he's actually really quite pleased with the roundabout in West Park. Very pleased, and I was a proponent for that project because it ultimately has slowed down traffic and has improved both vehicular safety and pedestrian safety in that area, and I think in the other one on West Park Drive. So they definitely are a better engineering structure, in my opinion, in terms of moving traffic around the neighborhood. And to see them integrated here obviously makes a lot of sense, but I would tend to agree with you, Your Worship. So that's the message that I guess I would suggest from an elected standpoint needs to go to administration to make sure that they come up with a workable plan in that regard. If not, then the neighborhood structure plan needs to ultimately respect that in some way, shape, or form. So I would tend to agree with you.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to come back on around 2. So because I'm struggling with this one so much, is it possible, and procedurally I'm not sure, is it possible just to put an amendment on to say that both of those colors would be just residential low density, and then you figure it out in the neighborhood one? Like, does that change it that much? That, I mean, could we theoretically do that?
Your worship, I think certainly you could. When we're looking at the neighborhood structure plan, again, like we're looking at it from that policy perspective and whether or not it adheres to the spirit of the MDP and is in compliance with. So we will go through that level of scrutiny with the neighborhood structure plan. We are working with the developer to bring that forward. I don't know if that would delay things or not, but it would certainly be additional work for us to go through that. But what's being shown in the area structure plan is reflected in the neighborhood structure plan, and that is going through process right now.
Okay, Ms. Boucher?
Thank you, to your worship. We're facing a few difficulties procedurally because we are in a public hearing and we don't have the ability to extend the public hearing if we.
We're out of the public hearing. We're doing business arising.
Right, correct, but we've held the public hearing on this matter and we don't have the ability to hold another public hearing. So if we make a change, there is a bit of an issue there. It might be worth considering dealing with the bylaw and the motions that are before you, and perhaps doing a subsequent motion to direct administration to bring a report on the feasibility of making that change at a later date. That just gets us around the change to the MGA that says we are only limited to one public hearing on a bylaw.
Okay, and I understand that, but both of them are low density. It's just the word street oriented that's the change.
Yeah, and really it's one of those difficult situations. It really depends on how people perceive that change, whether it's material or not. My understanding is that that is a fairly substantive change.
Okay, I'll leave it for now, but as Councillor Harris said, going to be looking for some sort of change or direction or something when it comes to the neighborhood ones. So I'm going to need more information. Okay. Okay. Not seeing anybody else. Councillor Nguyen on close.
Yeah, I think some good subject matter has been raised. Short anecdote: I was in Salisbury Village in Sherwood Park, which is a rather new neighborhood, the other day, and just saw the differentiation in the architectural design of the neighborhood with products. I think that's kind of where we're envisioning going here in Fort Saskatchewan. That's where I see these new annexed areas going. So I am in support. Going to be supporting the motion as it stands, and the details of the neighborhood can get worked in due course.
Okay, thank you. The motion is now closed for second reading. Please cast your vote. And that is carried. You can proceed with third. Go ahead.
So I'll move that council give third reading to bylaw C925 to adopt the Roseburn area structure plan.
Thank you. Do you wish to speak to it any further?
Nothing further.
All right, thank you. Is there any further discussion and debate? Not seeing any. I'll close the motion. Please cast your vote for third reading. And that is carried. All right, thank you very much. Thank you. All right, are there any notice of motions? Not seeing any. Points of interest? You're not on there, are you? Or did I just not take you off? Okay. Thank you. Any councillor inquiries of administration? No. With that, then I will adjourn the adjourn the regular council meeting. We'll take a 10-minute break. You need 10 minutes, so it's 2:50. So we will come back at 3 o'clock. Perfect.